Okay, it is 8:30, and we'll call this October 1st Environment and Land Use Committee meeting to order. Roll call of committee members. We'll start on the end.
Whalen's here.
Todd's here.
Munson here.
Dave Larson here.
Severson here.
Nelson here,
Stacy Klein here.
and then staff members.
Good morning, Susan Fisher, Corporation Counsel.
Haley Passo, DLM.
Mark Carlson, DLM.
Kathy Nelson, DLM.
Thank you. We have a 15-item agenda. Any changes or additions? Hearing none. I'd entertain a
Motion to
motion.
approve the agenda.
Second.
Motion by Larson, second by Whalen. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item number 5, adoption of minutes. Any corrections or additions from the September 3rd?
I move to adopt the minutes as printed.
Okay, motion by Whalen,
I will second that.
second by Todd. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We are up to our first public hearing for land use change rezone from industrial to primary ag from Marilee Shorbon. Randy, would you read the notice, please?
Yes. You are hereby given notice that a public hearing before the Trempealeau County Environment and Land Use Committee is scheduled for Wednesday, October 1st, 2025 at 8:30 a.m. in the county boardroom of the courthouse. 18600 Hobson Street, Whitehall, Wisconsin. The purpose of the hearing, requested by Marilee K. Shorbon, landowner petitioner, Independence, Wisconsin, is to request a land use change rezone from industrial to rural residential on approximately 7.6 acres to change back to original zoning. The location is the southwest one quarter of the northwest one quarter of Section 24, Town 22 North, Range 9 West, Town of Burnside. Parcel number as follows. Upon request, a map of the property may be obtained from the Department of Land Management. To provide public comment on this hearing during the meeting, please call 715-538-1894. Your attendance and comments are encouraged at this hearing but not required. If you are unable to attend and have any questions, please call Mark Carlson with the Department of Land Management at 715-538-1919 or email at mark.carlson@county.trempealeau.wisconsin.us before 4:30 p.m. on September 30th, 2025. If you are unable to attend and desire to submit a written comment, please send your written comment to the Department of Land Management, 18600 Hobson Street, Whitehall, Wisconsin, 54773, or email, once again, Mark Carlson, before 4:30 p.m. on September 30th, 2025. Please know that written comments will be read at the public hearing up to 250 words. All written comments must include the name and address of its author and the request that the letter be read at a particular meeting date. Any special interest groups or expert witnesses will be allowed 20 minutes to give a presentation and must register at least 1 week prior to the meeting date by calling Mark Carlson with the Department of Land Management, 715-538-1919. Sincerely, Mark Carlson, Zoning Administrator.
Okay, thank you, Randy. So meeting is currently, we're in the comment section. If anyone is here wishes to speak to this rezoning, please, Mark?
I'll just kind of recap it a little bit. It's pretty much the same thing we went through last meeting with Tony's, except different township. Same scenario, industrial to, in this case, rural residential. That's kind of what the land or comprehensive plan states it to be in the future, and, more of what it was prior. And she's trying to sell the property, or is selling the property, and the lending institution and the buyers do not like the industrial zoning designation. So just kind of cleaning it up. I think it's a good thing to kind of go backwards on some of this rezones, back to the normal or what it was. She's not asking for anything out of the ordinary, so.
Anyone here who wish to offer any public comment, now is your time. Do you have a letter from the
Yes, I do,
college?
yep. Marilee Shorebon appeared before the Town of Burnside Board of Supervisors at their September 8th, 2025 regular meeting regarding rezoning her property. Town of Burnside has no objection to the consideration of rezoning requests from industrial to rural residential. Please let me know if you have any additional questions. Melissa Kono, Town Clerk.
Thank you. So this will be going to rural residential then?
Yes.
Once again, if anyone's here wishes to offer public comment, this is your last chance. Hearing none, seeing no one here, I will close the public comment period and open it up for a motion and discussion.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Klein,
Second.
second by Munson. Any discussion or questions? Seems pretty straightforward.
I got a resolution, and I just noticed I didn't change Unity to Burnside, so during the Golden Stands presentation, I'll run and change that in and pass the resolution around.
Okay, sounds good. Hearing no discussion, all in favor of approving this rezone, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. This will move on to full county board for final approval this month. So, next item on agenda is a public hearing for a conditional use permit for a solid or liquid waste facility by Justin Hoppel, operator and R&J Properties owner, Town of Caledonia. Randy, would you read this notice?
Yes. You are hereby given notice that the following conditional use permit will be before the Environment and Land Use Committee on Friday, October 1st, 2025 at 8:35 a.m. in the County Boardroom of the Courthouse, 18600 Hobson Street, Whitehall, Wisconsin, 54773. The hearing requested by Justin Happel, operator and R&J Properties LLC owner, to consider a conditional use permit for a solid or liquid waste facility. The location is the southwest one quarter of the southwest one quarter, section 5, township 18 north, range 8 west in the town of Caledonia, Trumpealeau County, Wisconsin. Parcel number follows. To provide public comment on this hearing, during the meeting, please call 715-538-1894. Your attendance and comments are encouraged at this hearing. If you are unable to attend and have any questions, please call Mark Carlson with the Department of Land Management at 715-538-1919 or email to mark.carlson@county.trumpealeau.wisconsin.us. If you are unable to attend and desire to submit a written comment, please send your written comments to the Department of Land Management, 18600 Hobson Street, Whitehall, Wisconsin, 54773, or email once again to Mark Carlson. All emails and written comments must be received by September 30th, 2025 at 4:30 p.m. Please know that written comments will be read at the public hearing up to 250 words. All written comments must include the name and address of its author. Any special interest groups or expert witnesses will be allowed 20 minutes to give a presentation and must register at least 1 week prior to the meeting date by calling Mark Carlson of the Department of Land Management at 715-538-1919. Sincerely, Mark Carlson.
All right, thank you, Randy. So I'll call this hearing to order. If anyone is here and wishes to testify, make sure you sign on the sheet. Would you give us an overview?
Yeah, I guess the reason we're here is because there is identifiable definition for liquid waste, what they're asking for on their conditional use, and there are no standard conditions, under that use, but, he is being regulated pretty heavily by the DNR as far as land application, setbacks, and all that sort of stuff. And I guess I decided to have the conditional use because it actually is identified, even though this is the first time we've ever had to do this. It's kind of unique, and it is for septic waste. It's not a manure storage type facility, that's identified in our other ordinances. This is something entirely different. And he provided, I didn't put it all in the packet, but there's tons of information that he's being required of from the DNR. And he can maybe reiterate on some of that, but, and I haven't had any comments other than just questions from neighbors. You know, nobody called and hollered and said they didn't want it or anything of that nature, and I do have a letter from the town of Caledonia.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone here who wishes to offer public comment? Seeing none, could you read the letter?
On September 17th, 2025, at the regular board meeting for the town of Caledonia, Holman Pumping was approved to place a liquid waste facility on their property. I have included a portion of the minutes where it was approved. Stacy Klein made a motion to approve the conditional use for a liquid waste facility to be located on their property. Joe Mutka seconded, motion carried. Have any questions? You know, Blaise Stegemeyer, clerk treasurer.
Okay. All right, thank you. Once again, if there's anyone who wishes to offer public comment, now is your opportunity. Seeing nobody jumping up to come talk to us, I will close the public comment period at 8:41. And I'll entertain a motion from the group.
Motion to approve.
Motion approved by Munson,
I will second that motion.
second by Todd. Any discussion, the potential conditions that would wanna, looks like DNR's pretty well got you guys squared away.
I would say so,
Yeah, I don't know what, no.
I assume it's land applied after, I mean, it's a dome, or it's like the city or municipality type facility? Harvester, yep.
Oh,
And yeah, they'll require
You
how
got-
much volume you can put on per acre and everything else. So yeah, you're,
yeah, I'm not sure what conditions we could add to this, so it looks pretty straightforward. Yeah, yeah, so, all right, so we have a motion on the table. If there's any other discussion? Otherwise, all in favor of approving this conditional use permit, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. You will have your permit. Okay, next item on agenda. We have an appearance by Golden Sands RC&D on aquatic invasive species.
Okay, so I will start it off here. Oh, sorry, I was looking at my computer and it said I was muted, but never mind. Confusing my own self here. Okay, we're gonna close those. So I'll kick it off. So I just want to, this is what I mentioned last month about partnering with Golden Sands RC&D for the Lake Monitoring Protection Network, so the LMPN grant with DNR. Today I have Chris Hammerlaw and Mara Lines here to answer any questions and give any kind of, additional information on that. In your packets, I did provide a draft MOU that Chris did send to me. This is the standard MOU generally used throughout the counties, and that is provided, we would sign it, then give it to DNR to use as an agreement between us and Golden Sands to do that work for the grant. There is also the, I believe, draft grant that I had started on there. It's pretty standard as far as the grant goes, just a fill in the blank essentially of the dollar amount which DNR provides to us. I can't change what that dollar amount is. And then there will be, and does it not pull up nicely?
No.
It says, please wait.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, DNR's, I'll pull it up, but it is a very basic, grant application. Just fill in names and then the dollar amount, and then sign. And then we have to attach the MOU from there. I also put in a brief description of, again, what the LMPN grant is, and then what Golden Sands would provide, along with an example monthly update that Golden Sands provided to Portage County, so that we would see what we would be receiving if we do agree to partner with them. They do send monthly updates on things that they have been doing. So I will turn it over to Chris and Mara. And Mara, if you do come up to the podium, there's a little button on there that turns on your mic so that Chris can also hear you. So there we go. Yep,
Okay,
it is lit
fancy.
up. So I will give you guys the floor, and if we have additional questions or anything, we can go from there.
Perfect. So my name is Mara Lentz. I am a Regional Aquatic Invasive Species Coordinator for Golden Sands RC&D. Our main office is based out of Stevens Point. We're a nonprofit that focuses on anything environmental, from like ag stuff to clean water, healthy forest, stuff like that. So Chris and I work on the clean water aspect. The main grant that funds our program is the LMPN grant. So basically, the dumbed down version is DNR gives each county a certain amount of money, which Trempealeau County, I think, is a little over 11,000 for this next year. And they give each county money. It's kind of up to the county if they want to take it or not. In my opinion, it's just like free money. Why would you not want free money? And some counties decide like, okay, we'll take the 11,000 and we'll do something with it. Others are like, okay, that's kind of just annoying. We don't want to have someone else rack that on their plate. So then they'll turn it over to someone else, another designated agent. So in that case, it would be us. Chris and I manage 12 different counties already. So that is Clark, Columbia, Green Lake, Jackson, Juneau, Marathon, Marquette, Monroe, Portage, Taylor, Wapaka, and Washera. And basically what we do with this money is we put it into one big pot of money. In some years, if you have more events going on in your area or something, you might get more of your dollar value than other years, and sometimes you get less. It's just kind of based on the need in each county. And what we do is a lot of outreach and education. That's the base of the grant. So it's not necessarily that we're going to be boots on the ground pulling out Phragmites or purple loosestrife for spraying and stuff like that. It's more educating, like if there's lake groups or conservation groups, we've gotten involved with like trappers, waterfowl hunters, which I'm from Holman, so I'm down by the Mississippi, so that's definitely something that I would be looking into. I know there's the refuge down there and then Perot State Park, so that's something that I would be interested in getting involved in. That's kind of been my playground growing up, but obviously up here there's stuff as well. And we've talked about like Trout Unlimited getting involved with, and we're really just educating people on aquatic invasive species, what they are, how to manage them, what you can do to prevent them. Also kind of like going to like boat landings and checking like those signs that say like prevent the spread, putting those up if they need to be put up. While we're there, we usually do like kind of like shoreline checks and in the water for new invasive species that we don't know about. So doing some early detections. We also get involved with like conservation field days. So last week, I did 2 days in a county and talked to 200 students. Down in Columbia County, which I also manage, there's an event that's 2 days called MOHE, Midwest Outdoor Heritage Education Expo, and that's 4,000 kids in 2 days. So a lot of that kind of stuff. And I know some counties don't really have lake groups, so just trying to find that niche for what the county has. Also like assisting DNR when needed. I was with Black River Falls Wildlife LTE for 2.5 years, so kind of also in the area. Chris, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure, thank you, Mara. Yeah, Mara's done a very good job of covering it, and can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, I'll fill in the gaps a little bit. So the dollar value that is allocated to each county, there's a metric that formulates that dollar amount based on things like how many lakes do you have? How much public access do you have? How much parking space? What type of recreational volume do they get? And other things. So that's how that dollar amount is allocated to each county. It's annual. It is not competitive. So Trempealeau County or whatever county it is will typically get the same amount. There may be a slight reduction this year that we've been informed about, but we're not sure about that. So we were informed to proceed with the current value, which for Trempealeau County is the $11,148.96. That money, as Mara alluded to, could either go directly to the county, and maybe you you have a staff person that can take on that workload, but the money is specifically for outreach and education, as Mara mentioned. So a lot of counties will say, you know, our staff is busy. We will designate you, Golden Sands RC&D, as our agent to do that. And in doing that, Haley mentioned the simple grant application, and basically it's difficult to show because it's a fillable form like a lot of DNR forms are, so they don't always function well with every program. But it essentially says that Trempealeau County designates Golden Sands RC&D Council, there we go, as the designated agent. So it's a checkbox where you're checking up on the top left as a designated cooperative agent. It's listing Golden Sands RC&D. It's listing the dollar value that DNR will then send directly to Golden Sands or your designated agent. So therefore, you don't need to include this in any of your budgets or do anything like that. It comes directly to us. The county or you are not, there's no deliverables for you. There's no reporting for you. That's all on us. If we were to mess up, it's on us. Not that we would. I'm sure Haley reached out to plenty of the counties and said they've been very happy with us. But the point being is there's no pressure on the county. It's nothing, no extra workload for you. It's all on us. And then as part of our cooperative agreement, we continually give you updates monthly on what's going on, events that are coming up. Once we get the funding, we do end up having a meeting directly with your group and seeing what are your needs. Maybe you know of some areas that need attention, and then we can start with that and grow the program from there. I've been with Golden Sands since 2013, and I've been doing this type of work, working with counties and outreach and education on invasive species since 2009. So I guess I'll leave it at that unless Mara's got more or you have questions.
Any questions from the committee?
I do. Maybe you could tell us a little bit more about the Golden Sands RC&D. Are they just a facilitator for DNR funds, or what's the origin of the organization?
You want me to go with that, Mara?
Maybe you give it a shot, because I'm always terrible at explaining all the different pillars and stuff.
Sure. So RC&Ds, Resource Conservation and Development Councils, were developed back in the 70s. And at that time, so Trempealeau County is working on a project, and your next door neighbor county is working on a project, but maybe your funding or your staffing has to stop at those county lines. So RC&Ds were developed to take projects that were larger, more overarching, and be able to work across county lines. At that time, we were federally funded. Up until 2011, the federal funding went away, and there were RC&Ds across the United States. Within Wisconsin, up until 2011, I think we had 6 or 7 of them. Currently, I believe there's 3 left, just because of funding going away. Some RC&Ds weren't able to stay established. But Golden Sands has been very successful of doing that. So and we are a not-for-profit organization, environmentally conservation focused. We have 4 pillars that we work on. One being the clean water, which is predominantly the invasive species and lake services type work that Mara and I do. The other one, sustainable agriculture, abundant wildlife, and forestry. So those are the 4 pillars. Most of our funding comes through grants, which might be federal, they might be state, they might be private. And then we do augment that with contracted service work. So when Mara says, and I was telling you earlier that we do the funding that we're presenting to you today is for outreach and education. But if a group contacts us and says, hey, we've been dealing with Eurasian water milfoil, one of our invasive species, we've been dealing with it in our lake for the last few years. It's gotten to a point where we need to do some management work on it. We can be contracted to go out there, map the populations, work with them with DNR to develop an aquatic plant management plan. So that in a nutshell is basically how Golden Sands operates. Much of the funding comes from various grant or donations. And then we also do contracted services for programs or projects that don't fit under our grants, but that we have the skill set to do. And the last thing I didn't mention is the funding that we're talking about today. There's no match requirement on this. So it's not like we're going to accept this $11,000, but then we need to come up with match and document match. Nope, it's a straight grant. We accept the money, we do those services, we report to you monthly, and then twice a year we are submitting reports of our deliverables to DNR.
Thank you, Kevin.
Question on Golden Sands. Is there a board that is in charge of showing the focus or the vision of a group, or a supervising board of constituents from the counties, and what is its format? And is there any way we can get it to work with our local producer watersheds? Seems like you have a lot of the same pillars as a lot of our local watersheds that are dealing right now, especially with the way it goes as far as invasives, as far as pollution that's occurring. Because I've worked with people in the public that are always excited about, specifically up in the Eau Claire area with Lake Callie's water district. Seems like you guys, if you could work with the watersheds, we could get a real bonus as far as you talking with the producers, as far as goals, visions, and specifics. Is there anything like that occurring as of now with the Department of Ag, Trade, and Consumer Protection grants that go through for watersheds?
I'll give a high level answer on that.
Sounds good. Love high level.
Yeah. So Golden Sands are the committee that you're referring to. There are delegates from every partnering county, those that are part of Golden Sands RC&D. So we function kind of two ways. One way is we realized that Trempealeau County wasn't receiving your LMPN funds. And since you were right adjacent to our program area, we thought we'd reach out to see if you wanted the service. We have other counties that are part of, they pay their annual dues and they are part of Golden Sands RC&D, and then you're able to have a delegate within our committees. So when Mara and I were looking at approaching Trempealeau County, we first went to our committee in Golden Sands RC&D and our other county partners and said, this is what we're looking at doing. We had to run it by them. We can provide you with the information to look at our website, or better yet, we could get you in touch with our executive director, Jennifer Glad, who could definitely fill in the gaps a lot more precisely than I'm doing for you. And I guess I can let Mara speak at this point, but she's actually helping Marquette County right now with 9 Key Element Plan, dealing a little bit more specifically with some of the watershed issues and how ag deals with that as well. We've got some other partners within our area already that are doing similar things. EPIC or BEBCO with the Big O Plain, Marathon County, a lot of producer-led watershed groups there. We do have staff on board that work more closely with agriculture. So Mara and I are more of the aquatic plants, animals, working with that realm, if that helps you out.
Yeah, so I've been started working on the 9 key element plan. Like I said, I come from like a wildlife background, so this
Right.
is like totally a learning experience for me. They know that it's a learning experience. If anybody has looked at doing a 9 key element plan, you know there's no template. So my hope is once I do this, I can kind of create a template and then we can like go from there. And then if we need to do more of them, then I'm not going to take as much time. But essentially for the 9 key element plan, what they're doing is it's on Buffalo Lake over in, was that Marathon County, you said, Chris? I can't even remember right now. Marquette.
Close.
One of those M ones. But essentially what they're having me do is kind of be like the coordinator for doing the plan. I'm getting all the information from people, and then what I do is I write it up and kind of coordinate any like outreach that we need to do, going to like any lake groups or producer groups and answering questions like that. And like Chris mentioned, that's like one of our contracted services. We do aquatic plant management plans as well. And I would just say that this contracted work is kind of supplemental stuff, as we know, like grants go away and federal stuff happens and stuff. So these contracted services, I think, have really kept our organization kind of above water to be able to continue to do the work we do and stuff like that. So that's definitely something I'm dipping my toes in, but I haven't fully went in more yet. That's kind of what I'm planning to do in the winter when there's not as much open water anymore, so.
I was just trying to emphasize that we do have a listing of all these watershed groups, that their goal's similar to what yours is. You're educating about it, you're doing the PR about it, but we want to, keep a connection between, okay, the Trempealeau County $11,000 grant. Is there a way we can set up a communication with the Buffalo Trempealeau Farmers Network that, okay, you guys are trying to control a specific, and I don't know how you determine what your focus is, if it's just by popular, if it's purple loosestrife because there's outbreak as far as in some surface area lake, but we're just trying to figure out how we can have an impact on trying to relate the producers and the people that are impacting the surface waters here to your group, just to set up basically a communication between the groups.
Yeah, so I would say that my area, so I live down in Juneau County, so I live right in Boston. I work out of my home office. And those areas don't have as many like lake groups focused on like aquatic invasive species stuff. So even though they haven't really been involved with that, I have made myself known and kind of am there for moral support, I guess, so far. But yeah, Chris, do you have anything to add?
I was gonna say, I would like to just jump in here.
You go right ahead.
With this, it is an outreach and education. I want to reemphasize that,
Right.
that it is not actually, the money cannot be used for the remediation of aquatic invasive species.
Yep.
This is going to be for, we could maybe partner at one point with BTFN. That may be in our sit-down in January when I sit down with Mara and Chris to talk about, hey, what are events that I and the county would like Mara and Chris at, and where we want them to be focusing. So we are going to have that huge communication of like what the county and myself and the staff here think are really important that they need to be at, and they're going to try to schedule that in their schedules.
And that's
So-
just what I'm double checking
Yep.
to get
So
the
we have
communication
to
going
do-
from one end to the other.
Correct. So I want to make sure that me, Chris, Mara, and then Rick and Morgan in my office, and, if any one of the committees wants to be on, I'll probably ask, December, like, hey, what are things that you guys think of? Do you guys know of any events, stuff like that? And then I can sit down with Chris and Mara and go through, like, here's a list. I know they can't get at every single event in our county. That's just not possible. But we can highlight specific ones that we would like them to be at. The reason I'm bringing them forward is that I don't have a staff person that I can solely dedicate to outreach and education for aquatic invasive species. I just don't have the staff person for that. And if I pull somebody away from conservation projects or from the BTFN or, anything like that, then that's going to fall. So that's why I think this partnership is going to be really beneficial for the county, because we haven't had outreach and education on aquatic invasive species since I've been here. I can't say what was done prior, but I haven't seen anything. So I think this is a great step forward because we do have the Mississippi, we have the Trempealeau Lakes, we have our mill ponds or, the impoundments, that's still a body of water. And people need to know that aquatic invasive species will be in there if they are not already. So that's why I want to get this education out there. I think it's a great opportunity, and we're leaving these funds behind every year if we don't take them. They're there for us if we want them, and why not take them? So this is a great partnership on my end that allows me to still focus on things that I need to get done, but allow this to get out there. So that's why I'm bringing it forward. I think it's a great opportunity. So I'm going to say I would really appreciate a motion to move forward with working with Golden Sands. Other counties, I did reach out to them. They had nothing but positive, amazing reviews. With working with Golden Sands, I talked to almost all of them, to be honest, and I didn't hear one negative thing. They said absolute best thing they ever did. So it took that off their plate. So Chris.
I just, maybe to answer your question a little more directly, as Mara and I are out on the landscape and we are getting to know these various groups that we're interacting with, we also do act as that communication board because people start talking to us about all different types of things under the sun. We go there to teach them about their aquatic plants or invasive species or do a presentation, but questions come up all the time about shorelines or ag issues. And then we become that conduit. We take that and we go back to Haley or we go back to DNR and we say, hey, so-and-so is interested in this. So from that aspect, we're not a county employee, but we really do become an extra communication piece with you to help get residents on your landscape to the right people when there's questions, if they're looking at various projects too. So hopefully that's helpful with that aspect too.
Very helpful. Kevin?
I would like to move then to support the resolution to work with Golden Sands, RC&D, and their AIS program for lake monitoring.
Okay, motion by Whalen,
Second.
second by Klein. Any other discussion or conversation? Tony?
I guess the last piece of information I'll put forth to you is this is annual. So if at the end of 2026 you're like, we didn't find that value or we don't want to do it again, that's up to you. Every year about this time of year, we reach back out to all our counties and say, we're going to be reapplying. We'd love to have you on board. Are you still interested? So I just thought I would put that out there if anyone was curious, what's the timeline of this? It's annual.
I have one more question, if I may. Are you more than just a facilitator? Do you act as an agent to help these groups find grants and help apply for the grants and issues that arise? Or are you just education?
Yeah, part of our, go ahead, Mara, sorry.
So our main focus is education, but there's definitely groups that are out there like, we want to do clean boats, clean waters. Like, how do we get started with that? So we kind of help that group get into that. If they're wanting us to review or help them with their grant and kind of how to do that, we're also able to kind of help them with like the technical assistance and how to get grants and stuff like that. And, it's not always lake groups too. Jackson County in that area that I work in has a lot of cranberry growers and stuff. And that's a pathway that nobody has explored in Wisconsin. So I'm kind of interested in exploring that because I have seen like non-native Phragmites in these marshes, and on this half of the state that's actually a prohibited species. So kind of seeing new pathways as well.
And
Yep.
I will say, go ahead, Chris.
We provide technical assistance. We provide technical assistance in helping them fill out sections of their grant where they need, what part could we do here to make this a successful grant? What's the wording we should use? So we'll help them out with that. If a group were to ask us to write the grant for them, that becomes a contracted service. But we do provide technical assistance in helping people fill them out as they're working through that process and who they would work with at the appropriate agency of wherever they're applying their grant to or for.
So I will say, I will be connecting, if we move forward, them with the Friends of Trempealeau Lakes, and then that'll be a good connection as well. So I have talked to Chris about that is a group that we do have in the county, but I didn't want to go any further because I didn't want to get ahead of the horse and, get run over from that. So I want to make sure that we got, MOU and the approval to move forward before we even really started diving deep into what aspects to do. So
is there a billing cycle, or is it just like, say, X amount of dollars used this year, you carry it over following year if you've got a bigger project, or it's just
nope.
flat fee
So
all the
that
way through?
148 and change, that'll all be submitted right to RC&D. It doesn't even come through us. I don't see a check. It's not in our budget. I have zero budget line item anything on that. So it's not affecting our budget at all. It does get pooled in RC&D, so I cannot guarantee that every single cent will be done here. However, DNR, that is how they want it run. They want, if they're gonna be partnered with, if we're going to go with Golden Sands and they have multiple counties, they would rather DNR have one reporting and one budget with them instead of having 12, 15 for each county. So it's going to fluctuate with how much work they do within the county, but they're going to, they have kind of that designation of, okay, Jackson has, and they're all, I've looked at it, all of them are roughly about the same within, a couple $1,000s. So one's not 1,000 and we're 11,000. I mean, they're 11,000, 12, maybe a 15, depending on, like Chris had mentioned, the amount of public access, your shoreline, stuff like that. So it's all based on what DNR has classified for that. So.
Okay.
Couple of questions. In regard to Kevin's proposed resolution, ended with, for lake monitoring, is this limited to strictly lake monitoring?
Nope, so this, said this last,
It's the name of the grant, okay.
it's the name of the grant.
Grant, okay, well, that was,
Understand what it's for.
Yes, so Lake Monitoring Protection Network. I mentioned this last month, I think that's a terrible name because it is for, I think it should really be aquatic invasive species education. That's really what it is for. It could be in streams, lakes, impoundments, anything like the aquatic base,
we're saying
even
it's in
ditches.
the name, but that,
Ditches, yes.
it's
for
more
like-
inclusive than the name would indicate.
Correct, so
Okay.
that's why I think it's a terrible name.
We got calls at the same time.
Yes.
Yeah, yep, okay, well, that's what I was clarifying, okay.
Chris?
The main aspect, and we tend to deviate a little bit from this, but it's supposed to be for public access waters. So, but that being said, when said resident calls up because they've got a private pond and they're interested, like, what is this plant taking over my pond? We assist them with that as well. But public access waters or wet areas or access places is probably more appropriate.
Okay. Thank you. And then going back to your presentation of who and what you are, there was a comment you made about delegates to your board, but did I hear you say that would take a dues paying situation to, I didn't quite follow where you were going and what that was.
Yes, so the counties that are formally a part of Golden Sands RC&D, there is a fee structure. Those counties pay their dues to be a part of that. That, I guess, if there's more question on that aspect, I would put you in touch with our executive, Jennifer Glad. Unfortunately, Mara and I, because we're out in the field doing more of the work aspect, I don't have a really good grasp of how to explain that option to you. But by doing that, you're able to bring more projects to us, or you've got a say on, being on the committees for helping make decisions.
And I don't think you guys don't have to be a part of it, but I do think a lot of counties like do get involved and like show up to the meetings because they just like that communication, like, okay, I'm gonna go to the water meetings, like, I've got this issue, you know, kind of like hash it out with the other counties and see what they're doing, in their county, and I think it's beneficial for them. Some counties don't even show up, which is totally fine, like, whatever. And same with like the LMPN grant. Some counties are like, okay, you guys got it, completely hands off, and others are like, okay, I want to be involved with this and stuff like that. So it kind of just depends on the county and what you really want to do.
And doing this partnership does not require us to pay the fee to be on a council.
But it does leave the option open if we are interested at a
We
later
could
point.
potentially, but that's something I would have to look at for like a budget that was not decided or discussed for 2026 budget. There is, I will tell you, there is River Country RC&D within Eau Claire County. They are focused a lot more on like grazing. So we do have an RC&D in Eau Claire that does reach out to Trempealeau, but it hasn't been on this type of situation. So that's also something we could, as a department, look at, but it has never been looked at previously. So that's a whole nother discussion topic that's out of this realm.
I was just looking, this looks like a good idea to me. It looks like maybe a starting point with more to follow at some point.
Correct.
Okay, yep.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? For Mara or Chris?
I'm good.
Okay. All right, with that, we have motion on the table. All in favor of approving entering the MOU?
MOU, yep.
Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We
Okay.
will get the ball rolling.
Awesome. I just want to say thank you to Chris and Mara for answering questions today and giving that presentation. It was very helpful. So thank you guys for coming to the meeting. You guys don't have to stay through the rest of it.
Thank you very much, everyone. We appreciate your time. The follow-up here will be then Trempealeau County will be added, your 11 grand in change will be added to the budget, and the cooperative agreement, we'll get that out to you so you again can review it if you need.
Yep,
And the
I
formal
will,
deadline,
I'll talk to you, Chris, on that agreement, and we'll go from there. So, and I know the deadline,
Okay.
that's why I have that application pretty much ready to roll.
excellent. Thank you, everyone.
All right, thank you. All right, next item on agenda is a zoning update from Mr. Mark Carlson.
Well, right now, there's some language, some accessory dwelling units, there's something coming up with that, I think I mentioned it at the last meeting, that, you know, there's some statutes that may require us to have to allow at least one on a piece of property, but it hasn't been passed yet or anything, and the only limitations we may be able to put on it would be the size of it, things like that. And then the topic of the railroad access type stuff, you know, the current person that we're dealing with cannot provide a license, even though there is a license. We have a paper license that shows they do have one. This individual can't provide us one, my understanding. So I don't know how we want to proceed. We want to go through and change the language where it says license, or just remove the whole thing entirely and go back the way it was? Because, you know, I think the only people we're helping is the people that are selling their property for them to be able to do it. And it doesn't have any guarantee for the future user of that said bought property, so. Because I think they're at the mercy of the railroad regardless of what our ordinance language states. So, I mean, I guess I don't know if Susan wants to add any more to that, but I guess that's kind of how I take it in the nutshell, I guess.
So I think the second half, we need to schedule it for the next month, and call that individual in and really have a more full and complete conversation then. And then if we could connect with Supervisor Kellen as well at some point, that would be good.
Okay. Anything else on zoning?
Some of the other items are, probably can talk about in the other agenda items.
Okay. All right, next item would be economic development, commercial versus CUP. Discussion and possible action.
I haven't done too much with it since the last meeting. It was my understanding that some of those groups were gonna provide us with some information, and I haven't gotten anything from them. But, I guess it's something that we just need to address, you know, prior to the next go-around of their operation. You know, they're kind of winding down now. Maybe think of adding greenhouses to it instead of, you know, requiring a conditional use for every greenhouse that pops up. Maybe they can fall under that same aspect because they're very seasonal also. You know, it might save us a step, and if we can come up with an ordinance language that addresses all that without not having to have every one of these people come in for an additional hearing and type of approval, it'd be kind of nice to have, so.
Okay. So then it comes down to conservation update.
No, I got comment on that economic stuff. I mean,
Okay.
this is more than a hobby, weekend hobby now, Schwartels or whatever. This has gotten to be commercial. When you're offering beer and bands and every weekend,
Yeah,
And
there's a
advertising
fine
for-
line, and I know there's a few that are, yes, they're
But I
straddling
know-
a line of, I mean, how much we want to let them get away with versus requiring them to be zone commercial.
but also the state will be putting some, how should I say, restrictions onto all of this. As of 1/1 of 2026, it's called 2023 Act 73, which is a no sale event venue permit, which is basically the old picnic license. New rule states that you can have 6 events per year, but only 1 per month.
Well, they don't fall under that, they have stuff every weekend.
That's what I mean, and they won't, and that'll be under each town because that's who they're getting their license from, or they should be getting a license from for these events. And in order to get a permanent liquor license, it's based on a per capita of 500 people, based on the population of December 1st, 1997, if I read the statute right. And this all falls under the fact sheet of 3118, the Department of Revenue and Alcohol Licensing. So, yeah, there's gonna be some restrictions on you, maybe even the county fairs and stuff, your local events, Lions clubs, I don't know. It was all brought up by the Tavern League because of these wedding venue barns and all the stuff, all the tourism we wanted. They were getting offended because people were taking business away from them.
Yep.
And they did pass legislation now that will take effect.
But I think that right now is just kind of subject to the rental wedding venue.
It's all of it. It's per the new statutes, I got them right here. It's not just
Because that
wedding
language
venues,
was part
it's,
of the wedding venue.
well, so what does this start under? I mean, what is it?
But they
fall
aren't
under?
renting their facility out.
That'd be questionable. Well, okay, then let's go under public health and safety then, or
They
whatever. I
are
mean, to get
inspected.
back on the road is,
Yeah, Mark, they are inspected.
Betty, the health department inspects these, especially the food vendors and stuff like that, you know, and so that's a whole nother thing that they kind of, I mean, we're kind of going, I think our responsibility is the use of the property, you know, and stick to the zoning aspect of it, you know, either conditional use permitting or because it's seasonal, or just make them get zone commercial and be done with it, you know, but the only problem with conditional use is, you know, we go through a hearing, they put on a spiel of what they're gonna do, and then all of a sudden you find out they're doing more than what they
That is the whole
agreed to.
thing.
I mean, commercial will kind of catch all that.
Yep.
And we're not asking them to zone their whole property, like, say, the apple orchard, the whole ball of wax, it would just be the building or surrounding of the building where all this other type of activity is occurring, you know? You know, and I know they're brushing back on that, but I mean, we gotta keep it in line on our end too, you know, whether they like it or not is kind of mute.
uniformity, we've
You know?
held other people or businesses accountable for it, so that's the way
Yeah.
it should be for everyone. I mean, there's no gray area, it's black or white, you're this or this.
Yeah.
Because if we concentrate on seasonal and we say X amount of days, all it takes is to be one day over that, and then they're not under it no more. So maybe commercial would be a way of grabbing it, and then they would just have to, and then they would be, if anything they construct would have to be commercially inspected, for outlets and all that kind of stuff, but. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a gray area on what you would consider. I know they all think they're ag, they all think they're this and that, but my opinion is different than that in a lot of the cases, because they have morphed into a little bit more substantial than what they.
Proposed here for even, that one conditional use for the new store or whatever at the apple orchard or whatever, it was just the store, now it's grown into more than what we
Oh, yeah.
understood, I assume, so. And that's what the public is questioning.
Yeah, they are, and then, I mean, obviously, the public must be going to these places too, or otherwise they wouldn't be around, and it's not my cup of tea, but I guess that's irrelevant, there's people that visit these places, and it's popular, so.
Yep.
Yep. Randy?
Isn't that, the reason to add agritourism language to the ordinance or an ordinance for that? Because commercial is usually 12-month and
I mean, yeah, that's
agritourism
kind of what
allows
we were
for-
debating before. I mean, we would try to call it agritourism and then try to make it a seasonal thing, but if there's language coming out that they only can do things certain timeframes, they're never gonna be able to meet that anyways, they're not gonna, 6 times a year, I mean, they do that in a month and a half, so it's just something that's kind of hard to get a hold of, I guess. I wasn't aware of this language that Tony's talking about, but, I do know there was grumblings with Tavern League and the wedding barns. Well, none of the taverns hold wedding events, hardly. Who's gonna have their wedding at CJ's Bar downtown here, where you could put 50 people in there? So I think, they must have some clout to be able to complain, to the right people, and now everybody's gotta pay for it, so.
Yep.
Well, and the Tavern League issue, to my understanding, was more so, it was having to do with licensing and liability.
Okay, yeah.
So it was allowing the wedding barns to, just have liquor there without needing a license.
Okay.
So, and I know I've reached out to the town of Trempealeau, just asked some questions about the licensing, so they're in line with that, but I think I agree with what's been said, just go commercial, that would just be a lot easier for everybody else and more fair across the board,
That's
but,
kind of how I felt
Yeah.
right away initially, and then I was kind of leaning towards the ag tourism type thing. But now, after hearing all this, I'm leaning more towards the commercial again, as far as, that way it gets encompassed, with ag tourism, you gotta have to come up with some pretty specific language on how many days, how many, things like that, and then you gotta monitor it, with the commercial, there's not a lot of follow-up on it unless there's some really dire circumstances,
If I'm understanding this correctly, we're talking about commercial for the use of the property. As far as alcohol sales, that, we wouldn't have any hand in that,
I don't think
right?
we would be involved with that. More,
That
ours
would
is
be
the
up to
use of the property.
A town board?
No,
or-
that's right, it's
Right.
just that, my point was that it's just blowing into more than just a
Right,
farm
yeah.
stand or a little retail stand.
Right,
This
yeah.
is more of a commercial, when you're inviting people there
yeah.
every weekend for basically music and entertainment than
Right, yeah.
a product that you're producing on the farm.
Yeah. Yeah,
This is a revenue stream,
Right. So.
and that's fine, but I mean, we gotta make it fair for like you said, Lily of the Valley and a few others have had to go commercial.
Yeah, they did. I mean, they got all that done prior to the big boom on different ag tourism things, but, I mean, I don't know if she's open every day of the year, but I mean, it's more busy during spring flowers or fall events or Christmas. I've been out there for sleigh rides. And they did it, they didn't even, they just asked of it right away. They wanted to do it right, and I think if you just stress to them, okay, a building and then like some type of footprint around the buildings would be commercial use, that way they can do all that stuff. We're not gonna take business away from them. We're just gonna get it all done on paper and make it fair to people that have done it in the past, so.
Because I mean, yeah, come out of these 3 particular things onto 35 is a nightmare. I mean, I was there on a Friday afternoon to go get a truck at Universal, and it took 2 minutes. I turned around in Schwartzel's little parking lot and took 2 minutes to try to get back on to go back. So I can't imagine the weekends when there's a lot of traffic, you know,
Yep.
so.
Okay, so we'll bring that back for more discussion.
Sure, and I guess one thing that maybe Susan can, like in a lot of our ordinances, you know, if we did add something, you know, it says if certain things were in place prior to the adoption of the ordinance, then they're like grandfathered in, we gotta really be careful with that too, you know, they'd all gonna say that they've been there and they should all be grandfathered in. So the commercial route might alleviate that discussion,
Yeah, that would certainly be a
so.
consideration.
Okay, we'll look.
Just a quick update. There actually is a challenge to that Act 73 right now with 2 wedding barn owners. I think actually one of them is even in Trumpealeau County.
Monarch, and I believe it's one in Menominee, I believe is the other one, I'm not sure, but that's 2 out of the state.
A lot. Yeah. Okay. Conservation update, Haley.
Okay, so, I don't know, I stepped out for a second, but if Mark mentioned, but we are moved, the department is moved to the 2nd floor, so come find us, we're in a new space, we're still settling, and there's a lot of boxes, so bear with us. And I just want to give kudos to the whole department, as moving everything has been a feat, and going through lots and lots and lots of old paperwork that we have to figure out if we can keep or get rid of, or we have to keep for forever, and then where to store it. So just kudos to everybody in the department for making it as smooth as it could be. So we'll leave it at that. We have projects going right now, conservation projects, so that's keeping others busy as well. So, and with the government shutdown, we might be looking at projects that were started with NRCS that are currently happening at the current moment, and nobody is inspecting. So we don't know how that is going to play out, with us maybe doing a few inspections on behalf of NRCS to make sure that these projects are installed correctly and properly. So that is a work in progress that we're trying to figure out as of this morning. So bear with us on that part. And then the tech tour is tomorrow in Juneau County, so Rick and Morgan will be attending that. It looked really good. I just wasn't able to attend, so that'll be really interesting. They're touring, I think well, I guess it depends on what they can get into now with the shutdowns, because some of the properties were federal properties that they were working on, so they may not actually be able to go to some of them. The tree and shrub program, I am finalizing everything with that. I do not have a specific date right now with when it will open, but I am thinking the first 2 weeks of November, so either that first or that second week will be when the ordering will start. It'll be online again, essentially the same as last year, just a few different trees, some native shrubs, so I'm excited about this one. It'll be really interesting to see, I got some really good feedback from, the last couple of years of people really wanting some more native shrubs, so we're adding a few more of those, some more like choke cherries, stuff like that. So it'll be fun. So watch for emails and posts and everything about the tree and shrub program of when that's actually going live. Other thing is that the poster and speaking contest will be coming up for the youth education part of it. So the theme for the poster this year is "Soil is where it all begins." So I think we're gonna get some really interesting posters. We had a soil one, it was probably like 4 years ago now, maybe 3, and there were some awesome posters at that time, and this is a variant of what that originally was. So we'll see what the kids come up with. So if you know of someone or have kids within Trempealeau County, I would love to see more participation in both the poster and speaking. So the speaking is any topic related to conservation, so it doesn't have to be about soil. It's any conservation. topic that the youth wants to talk about. And the post, so that is 5th grade through 12 for the speaking. Poster is K through 12, so anybody can participate in that within Trempealeau County. So I'll be sending out a whole slew of emails to teachers and libraries. We'll be posting it and trying to get the word out there as much as we can. So that will be coming as well. And last but not least, I know we are into harvest season, so I just wanted to do a reminder for producers with nutrient management plans. Soil borings and soil samples should be taken here in the fall because it makes it a lot easier. So, and I think the last thing that I'm going to have here is that Rick and Morgan have been great at knocking out inspections this year. We've done a lot of O&M inspections, so operation and maintenance of projects that have been installed within the last 10 years. So it's great to talk to landowners, get back out on the property, see how it's doing, and talking about, potential new projects as well. And some of these landowners are new to the property, and we are able then to describe what the project was for, and give them kind of the rundown of how to maintain them and the reason for putting in a conservation project. So it's great to get out and talk to landowners, and we're just getting the word out there of what we can do. So that's what I have. Bear with us as we unpack and try to get back up and rolling smoothly here in our new space.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you, Haley.
Yeah.
Discussion, item 12, discussion on data collection centers.
Well, this was brought up last month, and we just put it on there because it was brought up during maybe some future agenda items, but there's all kinds of articles and stuff out there about how much tremendous amount of water these things use, and then the water is gonna be warmed up because it's a coolant. And I just hope that this isn't the next silica sand nightmare that Trumbull County went through back in the whatever, because, and we don't have anything in our ordinance that would encourage it or discourage it, I guess, It wouldn't fall under the facility like we've done with some of the electrical people, as far as, I can't think of the name of it, but, they're talking acres and acres of these things, taking up the landscape. And I would hope it doesn't gain any traction in this county. And I guess if it does, we need to kind of be prepared for what's coming, because it's a whole nother problem. And I think they're trying to single out counties that are kind of rural. Maybe they think they can get away with something, but we kind of need to dig in and, see where we're gonna go with it.
Mark, do you know of any place that has a thermal pollution situation as far as counties? I'm not familiar with any
I'm
that
not
deal
really,
with the
there was an
temperature.
article in the Eau Claire paper about how it's gonna affect the Great Lakes and all that sort of thing, and
Because we're a hotspot for it
And,
because of the Great Lakes.
there's articles out there, and something just came through yesterday, I believe, or I wasn't here on Monday, but somebody proposed some kind of legislation in regards to data collecting centers. I don't know if it was for or against, I haven't had a chance to look at it. It seemed like it was more of a, let's put the brakes on this thing type of stuff before it gets to be something. But I haven't specifically talked to any counties or anybody that can cite what their concerns are, I guess, on the ground. So,
Okay. Any other discussion?
I guess if I get in, I get stuff, the Wheeler Report every day. Some of it's kind of hard to look at because some of it's just plain ridiculous, but then there's always a little tidbit in there that would pertain to something like this, You got to kind of sift through it and keep in mind that a lot of it's proposals. It's nothing in play yet,
Okay. Future agenda items. Anyone have anything else burning that they want to see on a future agenda?
I will
Haley's got
have the wildlife damage individual. It is no longer Dwayne, because he retired. So I believe, so I just got a call on Monday as we were moving. I believe his name was David. I don't remember the last name. So he will be on the agenda for November to go over
So prices and
prices and harvest
Deadlines.
dates and deadlines, things that we generally do October, November each year. So that will be on the agenda for next month.
okay, very good.
I think we need to keep this whole AI center type thing in our discussion on a monthly basis. See what new information is there and what we may or may not need to do.
Be interesting to see what Menominee's, all the backdoor paperwork is, because that's a hot spot right now.
Yeah, that, they pretty much, they were kind of all set to go with getting in partnership, and all of a sudden they kind of
The
stalled
public,
it right
the
now.
public is really claiming on
You
their
know,
elected
and,
representatives there that,
But yeah, I mean, I'll put together information as we get it, you know, and share it with you guys or you people, and I just hope it's, I mean, I guess my personal viewpoint is I don't think it's a good thing to have in the county, but that's,
you know, is there anything we can put on water? I probably can't put water restrictions. I know some counties have done it for like bottling purposes. They can't sell water for retail or money capitalization.
yeah, I'd have to look, I mean, I have read some information on, you know, people that bottle spring water, it's so many gallons that they can do and fall under the realms. As far as water usage go, I'd have to look into that to see if there's a cap on, I mean, you see down in the southern part of the county that irrigating, I mean, they've used gallons and gallons and gallons. I don't know if there's a limit on it or not, I'd have to
Not
ask.
that yet, and I assume the sand mines that are operating, I mean, they use a lot, large amounts of water also, and I don't, maybe some of the other industries in town do too, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, it'd be hard to restrict it, but I know there's some restrictions on, like you said, bottled water for retail.
And that's probably more DNR related as far as water, water table, groundwater, but I'll have to, I'll dig into it and see if I can find something.
Along that same line, possibly, I don't know, it's probably not even feasible on this kind of a scale, but with geothermal, where you circulate in a closed loop underground to try to bring cool water back, the same as you would for hot or cold. If there's any
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna,
possibility for something like that to happen, you know, what was it, I'm trying to remember now, was it 1,900 or 19,000 acres that they're working with a whole center in Pleasant Prairie? Is that the one?
Could be, yeah, that's right, that was just
You know,
announced
if
too,
you have that
new one,
many
yeah.
acres, you know, would it be feasible to run lines underneath all of that to circulate water to help
Cool it back
cool it
down.
back down and not use so much external water, I'll call it?
Be
Is that-
nice if they locate them around the seas or whatever, yeah, they filter out the salt or whatever, but I mean, you got, why take our fresh water that's getting short already and use some of the ocean water, but I don't know if that's feasible either.
It's the same as everything else. They try to do it the cheapest possible.
Correct.
5 tremendous lakes of fresh water, and they're right here, and we can, I know Kenosha's data center's almost done, their data collection center. There's other ones that are just about done. They're accessing that water already.
And I assume
it's
it's
the
close to
cheapest.
the big transmission lines is where they want, because they take a
And there's-
large amount of electricity.
Just like the
too.
solar farms, they want to get it where they can transfer the energy cheaply and efficiently.
Okay. Fun stuff. All right, so next meeting date, right now, our regular meeting date would be Wednesday, November 5th, unless there's any issues with said date. Hearing none, we will stick with that at 8:30, and I will adjourn this meeting at 9:44.